public discourse, where they belong, right at the front of people's minds. So thank you for this amazing work you've done of making sure our existential crisis is treated with the seriousness it deserves. When I first heard about Extinction Rebellion, it immediately ignited something inside me that had pretty well gone to sleep. I've been in this business for over 30 years. For 33 years I've been campaigning, writing, doing everything I can to try to make as much fuss as possible about environmental breakdown and climate breakdown. And it's been immensely frustrating as I've seen how the entire political establishment, economic establishment, media establishment has plugged its ears and shut its eyes to ensure that it doesn't hear about the fundamental flaws challenging everything they believe to be right and true. And it turns out that what it took was this to make people pay attention. What it took was action on a massive scale. Conceived and planned with the greatest ambition, both in terms...
Get around the truck! Get around the truck! Police are coming! People around the truck! Sorry, George Monbiot! People around the truck! Sorry, sir.
So we're staying here.
Okay, we have a choice now. Let's sit down. Please disregard the police. Sit down. Disregard the police. Let's just carry on as if they are extra security to keep us safe. Okay? Let's not be intimidated. Let's not react. We've gone through 8 days with 1,000 arrests. No injuries to protesters, no injuries to police. Let's keep it that way. Okay, please disregard the police. Let's carry on with George Monbiot's talk, and then we'll have a citizens assembly, and then we'll simply disregard the police and carry on as we are. Okay? Now, before we were so pleasantly interrupted, we will continue. I'd like to welcome back, since we have a few extra spectators. Thanks lads for coming along. I hope you're going to pick up a few tricks here. So do come in, sit down, please. Let's just disregard the police and carry on as we are. I'm handing back to George Monbiot. Go and cheer, please. Whoa. This has been the most magnificent 8 days. We've had more arrests, non-violent, avowedly non-violent civil disobedience, more arrests than we've seen in Britain for decades. So let's keep the high moral ground, keep the police, we have the peace rather. We have the respect and admiration of the nation, so let's keep it sweet, let's keep it non-violent, let's disregard the police and carry on as we are. George.
Well, disregarding the police is a very good rule in life. Gets you a long way. But, you know, this is the power. This is the power of civic disobedience that we see right here and now. It is the power to project ideas, to project information into places where they previously could not reach at all. It is the power to galvanise public sentiment and galvanise public action in ways that conventional politics cannot do. There is a naive conception of politics that all you have to do is to vote for the right people and the policies you want will just happen. Well, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. Politics, representative politics, parliamentary politics only works for the people when it is supplemented by the people taking action, by the people ensuring that the issues of crucial concern are put right on the front pages where they belong. Are the people ensuring that our existential crisis cannot be brushed under the carpet? Democracy is too important to be left to Parliament. Politics is too important to be left to politicians. We need Parliament, we need politicians, but we can't leave it at that. Alongside our representative democracy, we need participatory democracy. We need deliberation. We need the people's voice heard alongside the representatives' voices. Because only then can we fine-tune our demands. Only then can we ensure that politics is responsive to the crises we might face and the crises we need to avert. So yes, vote. Voting is essential. Yes, let's have Parliament, let's have our representative democracy, but let that not be the whole story. Because at the moment, the system works like this. The Prime Minister can say, here's some legislation I want to push through Parliament. And it may happen that not a single person in the country wants that legislation passed through Parliament. But the Prime Minister can say, I am entitled to do this because I got a mandate in the election 3 years ago. And you say, wait a minute, I didn't vote for that. No one voted for this piece of legislation. And they say, well, tough. My mandate allows me, if I can get the votes in Parliament, to push it through. And you say, that's presumed consent. We don't accept it in sex. Why should we accept it in politics? We should be able to fine-tune the decisions that politicians make. We should be able to demand decisions they're not making are pushed onto the agenda. This is why I support, alongside all the Extinction Rebellion demands, a citizens' assembly. Or to be more accurate, a series of citizens' assemblies as part of a much wider transformation of the political landscape. We now have at our disposal digital tools that previous generations could only have dreamt of. In fact, couldn't even have dreamt of, because you can't imagine what you cannot see. And those digital tools allow us to fine-tune democratic decision-making in completely new and thrilling ways. Look at what's happening in Reykjavik, where the Better Reykjavik program allows all the people in the city to shape the future of that city. And it's done through digital tools used in the best, most appropriate ways. What happens is that anyone can put forward a proposal for how things should change in Reykjavik. And then everybody else votes on the proposals every month. The top ones are passed to the council, and the council can either accept them or produce a very good reason for rejecting them. And it turns out this system has transformed the city. It's turned it into a much greener place, a much kinder place, a much more inclusive place, a place where the whole infrastructure of the city is to serve the people, not just to serve big business. And so successful has this system been that 2/3 of the people of Reykjavik are now active participants in it. They need their representative assembly, but the representative assembly needs them. The people control the city, and that's how it should be here. And for the past 8 days, to an unprecedented extent, thanks to you wonderful people of Extinction Rebellion, the people have controlled the city. Now I know that thanks to your friends here, we're coming under pressure. And this pressure might lead to clearance of part of this site, who knows? We're going to see. But what we all know here is that this is just the beginning. The model of protest, the model of organisation, the model of civil disobedience, pioneered in the past few days here by Extinction Rebellion, is a model that will be built and built and built until our existential crises, climate breakdown, environmental breakdown, the destruction of humanity's life support systems are being attended to with the seriousness and urgency that is demanded. We will build on these astonishing acts of peaceful civil disobedience to create a new politics, a new economics, a new engagement between people and parliament, between people and police, between people and power in general, incorporating a transfer of power from those who have concentrated it back to the people. And what we've seen in London over the past few days, people will look back to as the tipping point, as the moment at which a country which had been remarkably complacent about our great environmental predicament suddenly woke up to it. And having woken up, will never go to sleep on this watch again. It has started here, my friends, and it will not stop here. It will build and build until we have created an ecological civilization. Thank you.
We love you, George! Yes,
So, we are now going to continue with the People's Assembly as we had planned. I know we have a few extra spectators. I'm afraid our security and stewarding hasn't been quite up to it. There are a few gate crashes at the front, but I'm sure they'll behave and listen well. So, I'm going to hand over. Yes. So I'm going to hand over to Linda, who is going to take us through how People's Assemblies work. And I hope that all of us, all of you, will continue to ignore the police and take part in Citizens' Assembly, which is, after all, one of the main demands that we're making of the government, as well as declaring a climate and ecological emergency and telling the truth about the science of climate change. It also includes Citizens' Assemblies. So here is an example of how Citizens' Assemblies can work. And I must stress, if the police do anything untoward, we're avowedly non-violent. We will not take the bait. We will keep the moral high ground, because that is how we have got to where we are now. with more than 1,000 arrests, no injuries to police, no injuries to demonstrators. We have the high moral ground. We have the appreciation and respect of the country. Let's make sure we keep it like that. So please sit down. Sit down, please, all sit down. Photographers at the front as well, if you could sit down to allow a view. Officers at the front, if you could, if not sit down, at least squat down a little so that people can see.
Someone who needs it.
Please, officers, if you could just kneel down a little or sit down so that people at the front can see. Okay, here we go. I'm going to hand over to Linda, who explains how citizens' assemblies work.
Hello, everyone! Who's ready for some deliberative democracy? Alright then, let's get stuck in. This is going to be a people's assembly, similar to the process that we had yesterday here. And it's going to be on shall we stay, shall we go? And when. So I'm glad everybody was making for that. But basically, so we did have the People's Assembly yesterday, and a lot of people touched on the point of how our exit strategy, basically. So we wanted to have one specifically on the exit strategy to get more of your feedback and get more of an idea of the numbers agreeing with each, so that we could feed that back in to the rapid response team's meeting that will happen tonight at 7 o'clock. We basically have two questions. The first one is, should we stay, should we go? And the second, if we decide to go, when? I'm going to hand you over to Paul, my co-facilitator. Give it up for Paul, everybody.
So there was a third question, but because we discussed it yesterday, it was how to leave, and it was a wide consensus that we would leave gracefully. So unless there's any strong objections to that, we won't be discussing that third question again, okay? So the way this process will work is that we will hear from each member of each team, and they will give you their perspective on the things you need to consider in making these two decisions, okay? Should we leave, yes or no? And when should we leave? Okay, which day specifically? And once you've heard the input from each person, we'll be quite rigidly sticking you to 2 minutes each, no more than that please, guys, because we've got very short space of time to do this one. This will be finished by 6:30. So it's an intentional, accelerated people's assembly. So you'll hear a couple of minutes from each person. Listen carefully to what they're saying. It's important stuff that you digest and consider in your groups of, we're going to suggest 6, because you're only going to have about 15 minutes. If you have a larger group, there's going to be a lot less time to get around everybody. And when it comes to the group stage, we ask you to be fully participatory and radically inclusive. They're the first pillar of the People's Assembly process. Make sure you get round to everyone, and then you will appoint a facilitator that's going to enable that to happen. So don't just leave it all in the facilitator's hand. Everybody can pull for everybody being supported and making sure everybody's heard. The process after that is also to take notes, and you'll have 15 minutes, and then we'll give you a little warning to gather your thoughts together before you come up, okay? And when you come up, we're going to actually ask the people who are coming up to have a little huddle so they can actually determine what the main themes of their points are, because we don't want to keep repeating the same points. Chances are you're going to have a lot in common, right? So we'll ask you to do a little huddle, and then we'll report back on all of the findings. Okay? So, without further ado, I think the next phase, unless there's anything else, Linda, we need to cover, is to listen carefully to the input of each of the representatives of the working groups. Okay, and I don't know most of these people's names, so I'm going to get them to introduce themselves, and we're going to hold them to a couple of minutes each.
Hey guys, so Indra is going to currently tell us about the practicalities of the leaving strategy.
Hi. Hello, beautiful people. Okay, so I'm really strapped with the practicalities. So, toilets. I can only kind of instruct as to how long it's going to take us to move everything. Yeah? Great, sorry, never was a pop star. Okay, so toilets. Rubbish we managed to get off street. So it's going to take us, I think, more than today. Okay, I would be not very happy because they'll be left with like 6 of us clearing up the rubbish and everything that's left behind. So my thing would be we could negotiate, I think, you know, a day, 2 days, be up for that. And say, because we have got a lot of stuff here, we've got children, we've got families, we've got people who have had their train tickets at certain times. There's going to be a lot of people stranded. So mine with practicalities, yeah, negotiate our happy endings, I think, would be my thing. And that's all I've got to say.
So quickly, a quick shout out. As George came up on the stage, he handed his bag to a girl. And if it's you, can you say, oh, we've got it? Brilliant. Oh, she's under the truck. She's under the truck.
Okay, so I'm going to represent the political strategy group. And the political strategy group believes that we should withdraw gracefully before the end of the week. We believe this because we want to demonstrate that we can act collectively in a very structured and disciplined way, and that it will be more useful for us to be able to leave in a kind of ordered way rather than let this continue on and perhaps fizzle out. And that would be more useful from in terms of public and government perception. And in a way, this camp does distract from the other direct actions that we want to continue to do this week. We believe that it's more useful, perhaps, for each of you to go back to your constituencies, start doing people's assemblies, and start lobbying your local government to declare a climate and ecological emergency if they haven't already. And yeah, so I think that's the proposal or the arguments from political strategy. Next we have media and messaging. Sophie is going to tell us the arguments from that perspective.
Hello everyone. Thank you everyone for being here. So from media and messaging, this is an emergency. We have managed in the last week to shift the conversation from a radical civil disobedience group to a serious, open conversation about the crisis, a political and ecological and climate crisis. We ask, what is the radical position right now? And we believe that is the inaction of our government. That is the radical position. So our proposal from media and messaging is to demonstrate that this phase of the rebellion can be closed in a ceremonious way. We agree that arrestables stay on the site and give up their freedom for the cause.
Now, this is a representation witnessed by the non-arrestables and everyone watching across the media of humanity watching our loss, watching what is being taken away in front of our very eyes at this moment. So we need to act, we need to graciously remove ourselves from this place. The arrestables stay, we watch them being taken, we close this phase of the rebellion from this site. We continue with our direct action and we focus that around our 3 demands, and that direct action will continue. So that's our proposition.
So now we're going to have Liam tell us about his perspective.
All right, so this is a rebellion. And as far as I can tell, since the 31st of October, when I was arrested outside Parliament, we've continued to rebel against this government until they take action on the climate emergency. And I just want to get a massive shout out to everyone who's been arrested this week and gone through that personal hardship. And there are still people in police stations, there are still people being held on remand. So I want us to send our love and appreciation to people who are still sitting inside cells right now, because they know that this is how we win, this is how we come together, and this is how things change through non-violent civil disobedience. Because this is Extinction Rebellion, and we're not going to stop! From an action perspective, whenever the police have come in this week, whenever they came into Waterloo Bridge, they started coming in on Monday evening, and we held that until Sunday. Isn't that amazing? 7 days. Non-violent civil disobedience, people just sitting on the ground, singing, chanting together. So if the police do move in around anyone, please sing, please chant, please make it noisy. Also, it'd be great if some people wanted to sit around the back of the truck. I know that means you might not be able to hear as much, but if there are people who want to sit on the ground behind the back of the truck, that'd be amazing as well. In terms of what we do, in November, for example, to stick with our regenerative culture, we had actions on alternating days. So we had an arrest day, and then we had a rest day. So that we could look after ourselves, so we could sleep, so that we could recover from taking direct action. So there's nothing stopping any one of you in your affinity group, in your local group, continuing to take non-violent civil disobedience, however this week ends. So I think actions want to see a rebellion continue, because this is why we're in the media this week, because of you sitting down on the road right now. This is why they're discussing us in the Houses of Parliament right now. This is because of you sitting down on the road here. This is why just clarifying, if we do decide to leave this site, the rebellion does not end. But I'm here because this is the People's Assembly. I want to hear your creative ideas about where you want to take action.
Go to the protest site, working site, water protection site.
Sorry. Okay, folks, now we're gonna hear from Tiana with Regen perspective.
I'll represent Regen because no one from Regen is up here. So Regen side, it's been an amazing 8 days, but a very long 8 days. I personally have been in prison for 40 hours of this week. I'm checking in with myself on this truck, and I'm pretty unsure about whether I can do a few more hours, to be honest. And I've got to be honest about that. We have to be honest about that. A lot of us here sitting down have already been arrested, some twice, some maybe 3 times, I don't even know. And you know, we can get into something called the warrior spirit. And I know I saw it down in Calais, I saw it in Standing Rock, I'm seeing it now where people are getting tired. But we can't stop, you know, we can never stop. And we, instead of being overflowing, we begin to start taking energy from our kidneys. Energy we need for the long haul, energy we need for the sustained rebellion that we want to see until our demands are met. So Regen Side, check in with yourself, see how it feels. You know, Oxford Circus, there's a reason it says we are the boat, because we could lose the boat. We are in grief for our planet. We can lose things. We are accepting that we can lose things right now because we are so much bigger than the ground we hold. And so if we're tired and we live to fight another day, maybe we go in ceremony and we go all together in strength.
And now we're going to have Ben from local communities.
Yeah, I'm a local group coordinator from Oxford local group, and I'm a bit of an outreach specialist. And I just want to say one thing, the time for local community outreach has come. I spent this afternoon knocking up a leaflet that's going to be used in Oxford when we get back this weekend. Throughout this week, more and more people from our local group in Oxford have been coming back, new people that we didn't know, that the time is right. Get those leaflets, there's so much ammunition to put in there. You know, the Times newspaper wrote a column in support of us today. We've got business leaders coming out in support of us. You know, we've got even the police saying nice things about us sometimes. Use this stuff, get them into your leaflets, get them out there into your communities. We'll be on a Saturday stall across Oxford, different places across Oxford this Saturday, distributing leaflets, recruiting more rebels, so that next time we come back, next uprising in this rebellion will be even bigger.
Yeah! Alright, so now that you've heard some information from some of the key groups, sorry that maybe not everybody who was supposed to be here could get here because they can't get up on the stage currently. But now I'm going to hand you back over to Paul to tell us a little bit about the process of how this People's Assembly is going to work.
Great, thanks Linda. So we're going to have to be quite intentional about this. So I'm going to ask you in a moment to get into groups of 6, and you'll be very quickly appointing a facilitator and a note taker. Don't take too long on that, just do it, and then you'll have more time to actually talk about the questions we're asking. Okay? And at that point you will... Can people hear me?
Yeah.
What do they want the mic on the roof for? Okay. Slight diversion there. So, yes, just in terms of the actual process, remember the radical inclusivity. This is one of the pillars of this process. Make sure that the facilitator is bringing everybody in, even the quiet people. They've got a lot to say, okay? And to actively listen. It's not just about you projecting your perspective. It's really important to listen to what other people are saying and keep that conversation going in terms of the presence of that conversation. And also to trust the process. So we really believe you can trust the process and trust each other. Okay, are you ready to do this, guys? Brilliant. Okay, so just a little reminder of the 2 questions. So the first question is, should we leave, yes or no? So that might be quite a quick conversation, unless there's some deliberation required there, some difference of opinion. And the next question is, when should we leave? So that will be a day. It's either now, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on. Okay? And yeah, we need to just, before we do that, just do the hand signals. I've got a little recap of what people said as well. So the hand signals really work. So first hand signal, if you want to say something, you do what? You put your finger in the air. Great. If you have a direct point, don't abuse this one, you put 2 fingers in the air, and that just means that the facilitator knows that they bring you in straight away. That should be a very quick intervention, no more than 6 words, something like that. Okay. If you agree with what somebody's saying, you wave your hands like that. That also helps the note taker, so they can see straight away without actually having to ask you that you're in agreement with that point. The other one is a C shape for clarification, so that will jump you to the front of the queue. Very quickly clarify it's something that somebody's saying, and move on. I think that's basically the one that we've seen already, the roundup. Okay, so somebody's going on a little bit too long, but you won't do that, will you? Roundup, so you shouldn't be needing that one. Okay.
And if you're really stuck in your group, just try stick your hand up really, really tall, and then some of the facilitators will be coming around to try help you.
Right, so just a very quick recap of the things that you heard before you go into this deliberation. So the first speaker was saying, considering the needs of the people taking part, there's toilets to get rid of and clear away, so there's site management issues, and the time to clean up, and also the needs of the people who are here. So there's some of them may have train tickets that are not today or tomorrow or the day after, they're further off. The political one was to withdraw gracefully and go back to our communities to maintain that particular integrity. The media one was to close this phase ceremonially, and the arrestables to stay, and obviously to continue the direct action. And basically the regeneration team was saying we need to maintain our energies. So there's some people who are very tired here, and other people may want to continue, so that's another aspect to consider. Okay, I think you're ready to go, so I'm going to leave you to it now. Get into your groups of 6, appoint your facilitator, your note taker, and you've got 15 minutes to discuss this.
Please,